Alright guys, today we are looking at a game from the Disgaea creator, which is already very exciting to me, only because that is a game series that I grew up with, at least the first three. I didn't really play too many after that, but the first three were just so memorable. They just were part of my teenage years, part of my tactical adventure, because outside of that, besides Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem, this was the only other tactical game that I played. So I was really excited to get my hands on this new game, and since I can't pronounce anybody's name, I'm especially not going to pronounce the first name to the main character, but I'm just going to call her Miss Rosenberg because that's her last name and it sounds cool. But it's a noble woman. She's pretty awesome. Gets sent to hell after she's executed because she was falsely accused of assassinating the king. So it starts off pretty dark, but we have this comedic feel throughout. And as she's in hell, she decides, since she didn't do anything wrong, she's just going to make hell her personal kingdom. And her primary goals are basically to conquer hell, find sweets, because, you know, she has to have sweets, because who doesn't love yummy sweets, and just clear her name because she seeks the truth behind who actually killed the king. And I'm not going to say this story is going to win any awards. It's not the greatest story around, but it is charming. And I think the musical aspect, I was a little worried here. I'm not a huge musical fan, but the musical aspect gives this game a slight edge over a lot of other games. It's only coming in at certain moments, usually big story moments, and they basically just showcase what's going around the actual plot, but it's also really humorous, and the singing is pretty good. So overall, I actually like the humorous part of this game and the musical part. I think there's a lot of funny moments. I think the character interactions are great, and I think the person who actually betrays you is one of the funniest, silliest, and sinister characters in this type of setting. And so we move on to the gameplay, and this is where the game goes 50-50 for me. So let's talk about what I like. So in the actual gameplay, it's a very party-like style arena that you're put into, and you have three other characters usually, or sometimes it's just you. It depends on what type of fight you're in, and you have to go around the stage and do objectives. Sometimes just clear out a bunch of enemies on stage, other times gather like food or donuts or whatever to put into a box to win the level. Other times you have to beat certain enemy in a certain time. It all just depends on what type of objective they're giving you, and you're always timed, so it always makes you move at a pretty quick pace. And in the level, you have items and power-ups and buffs going throughout in this like kind of musical circle that you have to kind of go in. So it doesn't have like music gameplay, but you go into the music circle and you grab that item or power up and then you use it in battle. So I think it's fun. I think it's cool. I think it has this reminiscent feel of, I don't know if you guys are older, but like Dreamcast with like kind of like Power Stone, but not as combat. Maybe more similar to like a mini game in Mario Party, but expanded. And each of the characters that you can use in this game each have one attack and then one special. I think the game presents a pretty good challenge. It's not overwhelmingly difficult, but there are a couple of times that I got overwhelmed because I just was doing the objective wrong. And I think it has a really fun style, and you do have 15 different characters. So when I say you only get one attack and one special, you might be like, ugh, but you do have quite a few characters that you can switch on. And out of the 4 characters usually in a game, you could switch on the go, so it does make it fun. So basically in one arena you have 4 different attacks with 4 different specials. And when you're at the base, or your hell train, whatever you want to call it, later becomes a flying ship, you can cook meals, you can upgrade gear, and you can socialize. You also can go around the stages after you beat certain stages and interact to get like cutscenes, kind of similar to like something like a Tales game where you can talk to your party. You do get to new areas, and while it's cool and it's a scenery change that was needed, I think it took too long to get there. I think this game would have benefited for different scenery, different types of levels. A lot of levels become similar, where basically you're just putting items in a box, or taking over a zone and holding that, or just killing enemies, and it never really changes enough. I think if you upgraded your characters, I wish their attacks would change, maybe get some combos, but you don't. And saying all that, what I'm trying to say is I think the gameplay of it is a bit lacking, and it's kind of odd because you could beat this game in like 10 hours, maybe less, maybe a little bit more if you did all the challenges and want to get 100%. But this is not a very long game, but I think if it was any longer, the gameplay would suffer more. I don't think it has enough substance to make you come back and keep playing. So I am kind of split on the gameplay. I think the voice acting's good. I think the story is fun, if not kind of silly, but that's kind of the gameplay you're going into. I do like the art style. The chibi form isn't usually my favorite, but I think it works well here. And the actual art, when you go into the menus, is actually done by the guy who did ReZero, so I do like that character design. And I do like the gameplay enough, but I will say about halfway point, I'm starting to feel like it doesn't do enough. And by the time I finished it, I was just like, that was a fun little game. I didn't hate it. I didn't come away frustrated, but I also came away saying, I don't know if I'd ever really replay this. So it really comes down to you. Are you in the mood for a bit more of a party type combat system? Are you in the mood for kind of a funny, silly story? Then I think you're going to enjoy this. I had a fun time playing it, but for a memorable experience with a lot of different attacks and kind of just a system that I think could have maybe used another maybe year to add to it, I think it would have came out better. But I do think it's a fun game. I do think it's fun enough to play, and if you're into this style, I think you'll like a little bit more than me. And a lot of people here know I don't really like rating games that much, but if I had to, this would kind of fall in like the 6 out of 10, which again, doesn't mean it's bad. I rate a lot of games 6 or 7. Those can mean okay or good, and that's kind of where this is in between okay and good, but I feel like it could have been better, and I don't like feeling that way, but I gotta be honest. But check it out anyway if you can rent it. I think it's a great game to rent. If you don't rent, I'd say when this hits sale, this could be a really fun game to pick up and play, and I just wish it had more, is basically what I'm saying. But if you like this video, hit the like button. If you love it, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll check you guys out next time for more video game goodness, but also I do comic book stuff, so check that out too. I'll check you guys out later.